Bodybuilding is a sport where you're judged by the way you look. You're judged by your physique, the way your muscles look, how lean you are, and you're being judged by other people. This sport is very subjective, meaning that you may think you look the best on stage, but if the judges don't like the way you look, then you don't win. Whereas something like powerlifting is very objective. It's black and white. You either lift the weight or you don't lift the weight. There's no arguing. In this video, I'm going to talk about some of the positives of bodybuilding and some of the negatives. As of recording of this video, I'm 4 days away from my 4th bodybuilding show, so I have some experience with this sport, and I think I can speak to a lot of the positives and a lot of the negatives. We're going to start out with the positives, but before we jump into the video, remember to like and share this video and subscribe to the channel if you've been enjoying the content. The positives. I think one of the main benefits of bodybuilding is the structure that it brings into your life. In order to succeed with bodybuilding, you need to have structure, you need to have routine. I think a lot of people thrive in routine, and most people can benefit from being in that structured routine. I know personally myself, I love having structure, I love having the routine. I know I'm waking up at this certain time every single day to get my cardio done. I'm working out at the same time. I'm getting my meal preps done on the same days. It just creates a lot of ease when it comes to having completed all the things you need to complete in order to succeed with bodybuilding. Now, structure and routine is something that most people can benefit from with anything in life. You don't need to be a bodybuilder or compete in a bodybuilding show in order to have routine. I think every athlete or all high-performing individuals have some sort of routine and have some sort of structure because it allows you to thrive. Now, I'm not saying that if you're looking for routine and structure, to jump into a bodybuilding show. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that bodybuilding requires you to be on point with your schedule, with your workouts, with everything, and it forces you to be in that routine and have proper structure. So in that regards, I think bodybuilding provides a lot of great benefit. Another positive to bodybuilding is the mental discipline that you acquire. Now, when I say mental discipline, I truly mean mental discipline. For anybody who has competed in a bodybuilding show before, you know what I'm talking about. Some days it's so much more mental than it is physical. I would actually argue that the last half of the prep is more mental than it is physical. You get to a point where you just finish cardio, you just do it. You don't think twice about it. You just do your workouts, you get it done, you don't think twice about it. But it's so much harder to actually get yourself to the gym to complete it. It's so much harder to wake up early mornings to get your cardio done or go for a walk or whatever it may be. But it's hard to describe the mental discipline that you do acquire from this journey because it's one that no one can really relate to or describe unless you've been through it yourself. This one is a little bit hard to talk about because it's hard to describe. I really don't know how to put it into words how disciplined you can become and how disciplined you are when you are going through a bodybuilding prep. I guess the same can be said for people training for a marathon, training for an Ironman, or training for any sort of event. The discipline that you need and the discipline that you acquire from the prep is pretty hard to describe. And so that's another huge benefit to bodybuilding. Another huge benefit to bodybuilding is unlocking new potential for yourself. You learn to push yourself in ways that you never thought was possible. Again, you get to low percentage body fats. And for most people, they've never pushed themselves to these limits before. I know for myself, when I did my first bodybuilding show, I didn't understand how far I could actually push myself and what my body was actually capable of. I think once I got to that point and I finished my show, I was like, holy shit, I really can accomplish a lot if I put my mind to it, if I stick to my routine, if I just set out to do what I said I'm going to do. It unlocks a new potential in you. Again, I don't think it necessarily needs to be bodybuilding. It can be a marathon, it can be an ultra marathon, it could be an Ironman. Seeing it through and pushing through to that event, whatever it is that you have set out for you, unlocks a new potential. The fact that I'm about to complete my 4th bodybuilding show has given me confidence, and it's shown me that I can push to new levels outside of bodybuilding even. I think doing hard things with the gym, with cardio, with nutrition, and staying as disciplined as I have has taught me that I can accomplish things that I didn't think I could, whether it's physical accomplishments or things outside of the gym. And so because of that, I think it's super beneficial to push yourself to these limits, to understand that you have so much more potential than you might think. And the last point, you just look sick. You look insane. Given you have put in the time and effort to build a good amount of muscle and you get down to low body fat percentage, you look pretty crazy. Every opportunity you get to flex in the mirror or check out your abs or look at those new lines in your shoulders, it's a pretty cool feeling. It's pretty empowering. It gives you a lot of confidence. It really does just show that all the work and all the effort you've been putting into your nutrition and training is paying off. Dieting is hard, dieting is difficult, but when you see it through and you do it for long enough, you do look pretty crazy, you look pretty sick, and it's a cool feeling. Again, it just shows you what you're truly capable of when you set out to do things that you said you're going to do. Now let's get into the negatives. I think there's a lot of positives to bodybuilding, but on the flip side, there are some negatives. I think the first negative component I want to talk about is the sacrifice that needs to be made. Now again, this doesn't necessarily pertain to bodybuilding only, but to accomplish anything in life, whether it's fitness related, work related, there needs to be some sacrifice involved. With bodybuilding, it's very selfish. You are taking a lot of your own time to do your cardio, to do your workouts, to meal prep. And a lot of the times you have to say no to social events. You have to say no to going on that vacation with your friends. You have to say no to going on that dinner date with your partner sometimes. And it can suck. The sacrifice sucks because in order for you to see this through, to accomplish this goal, you need to say no to a lot of things and you got to say no to a lot of people. And the sacrifice is real. As long as you go into bodybuilding knowing that there are going to be some sacrifices involved, you should be okay. But I think for a lot of people, they don't actually realize how much sacrifice is needed in order to be successful with the sport. Another negative thing is the exaggeration of pre-existing issues. So what I mean by that is whether you have a past of disordered eating, or you have a past of anger issues, or you have a past of unhealthy relationships, a lot of these things will just be exaggerated if you go into a bodybuilding prep. Again, bodybuilding is difficult. It's tough. It requires a lot out of you, a lot of energy, a lot of mental energy. And if you don't have your ducks in a row, a lot of shit can hit the fan. Personally speaking, my first competition prep was a complete disaster. I cheated on my diet many times. I had restricted and binged many times. I wasn't in a place to mentally handle what competition prep was. And because of that, I had a pretty dreadful first competition prep. And because I went through that competition prep, I had all these pre-existing issues that I hadn't taken care of and I hadn't handled before going into the show. While it was a learning lesson, and I'm glad I still experienced everything, it was quite dreadful going through the prep and not even understanding why it was so dreadful. I think there were a lot of internal things and internal issues I needed to address before I could have had a successful prep. Another negative is how bodybuilding opens the doors to disordered eating. Now, this is something most people don't talk about, but I want to say 95% of people who compete in these bodybuilding competitions experience some sort of disordered eating at some level during their careers. Now, when I say disordered eating, I'm typically referring to people who restrict all day long and binge at night. And if you're gonna tell me that you've competed in bodybuilding and you've never experienced a disordered eating tendency, I'm gonna call you out and say you're lying. If you've never experienced even a thought of disordered eating, you are amongst the top 0.1% of people who have never experienced it before. Again, bodybuilding can be very rewarding, but it's also at the risk of ruining your relationship with food, with calories, and even relationships in your life. I'm not trying to scare you away from bodybuilding. I'm just trying to inform you of the things that truly do happen that most people don't know about, and some people may not even talk about because it's embarrassing, it's shameful, and it's not necessarily something to be proud of. Again, my first competition prep was a complete disaster. Would cheat on my diet with thousands and thousands of calories. I would sneak out of my apartment at night. I would eat large pizzas, pints of Ben & Jerry's ice cream, just anything I can get my hands on. And I did this for about 6 weeks straight. I didn't think I was someone who ever would struggle with something like that, but because I had pushed myself to such intense limits and never addressed internal issues that I had already had, it really did open the door to disordered eating for me. But I worked through it, I got over it, and it was something of the past, and I'm glad I learned from it. And another negative of bodybuilding is the lack of understanding that you get from your peers. It can feel quite isolating when other people have no clue what you're doing and why you're doing it. Bodybuilding is a selfish sport. You're bringing your own meals in Tupperware to birthday parties. You're waking up early to do some early morning fasted cardio, training at the gym 5 to 6 days a week. Whereas all your other friends are saying, dude, take a break, relax, come hang out with us, come have a couple drinks. People don't get it. People don't understand it. And that's okay. I don't think bodybuilding is for everyone. And that's okay if you don't have everyone in your life actually understand it. But it is really important to have a community of people who do understand and who do support it. Bodybuilding community is very small. Again, most people don't understand why we do what we do. It can feel super frustrating, isolating when you don't have anybody around you who understands why you want to compete in these shows. So just know that going into these competition preps, or if you're about to do your first show, you may not get the support that you expect from your friends and family. Your family will probably have comments about your food choices. Your friends will probably tell you you've changed and that you aren't as fun anymore. But that's the whole point. I think bodybuilding as a whole forces you to grow, and it forces you to change into a better person. Being structured, being routine with your cardio, with your nutrition, with your fitness, forces you to become a better person. I actually do think it's a compliment if someone tells you that you aren't the same anymore, because that's the whole point. I don't think it's a good thing if you're still the same person from high school. I think all in all, there's been some positives and some negatives that bodybuilding has brought into my life. But I think overall, personally speaking, it's been a huge positive. I think early on in my journey, I had a lot of negative experiences. But as I got older, as I grew wiser, and as I became more experienced with it, it turned into much more than just bodybuilding. It turned into a lifestyle, and it led me to meet people who are the most important people in my life today. While there are a ton of positives, there are some negatives, and it's important to note them and to be aware of them. Regardless of what event you choose to enter, whether it's a bodybuilding competition, Ironman, marathon, whatever, all of these events require you to have the same level of commitment, same level of discipline, and same level of routine. So if it is bodybuilding that you're interested in, welcome to the club. There's a lot of sacrifice involved, but trust me, that feeling of getting up on stage, knowing you saw your competition prep through and completing it, there's no other feeling. If you made it to this point in the video, I appreciate you. Thanks for sticking around. And again, leave a comment down below. Have you competed in a bodybuilding competition before, or are you prepping to do one? Let me know, I'm curious. Again, I appreciate the love and support with all my videos lately, and I'll see you in the next one.